What's up, everybody? It is the Dark Conservatarian coming at you live with another episode of Strike Force News. Now, I'm not back with Strike Force News for good. This is probably just going to be a bit of a one-off thing since I just had so much to talk about the current subject I'm going to be talking about. But nonetheless, we are here right now to talk about the man, the myth, the legend, the Chad himself, the hero that we all needed but didn't deserve, or however the fuck the Dark Knight quote goes, Kyle Rittenhouse. And talk about his story as to what happened, of course, a year ago, or at least briefly talk about that, and talk about the politics surrounding the trial that has been going on for the last few weeks that you all have obviously probably been hearing about longer than my show has, or longer than I have been talking about. But nonetheless, I'm just gonna talk about in no particular format or order of things till I get my heart's desire out, if I can collect my words, or until we hit 9:30, depends on which hits first. And by the way, if you hear me sounding a little bit hoarse right now, it's because of the fact that I have lost my voice about a week ago. So therefore, that is why I sound the way I do. And hello, Aircraft Sparkian sent 1000 in the live chat. 5-minute countdown, asks Aircraft Sparky. Well, yeah, maybe I should consider a shorter countdown, but it's mostly so I can have the time while it goes live for me to show out the links. And plus, I've also seen longer countdowns. I Write Prostate's countdowns. He does 10 minutes. So, nonetheless, here we are, folks. I mean, as much as I go on pretty much playing up the whole story of Kyle Rittenhouse, calling him the man, the myth, the legend, and all that stuff, honestly, full disclosure, everybody, ultimately, I don't think Kyle deserved to have ended up in this situation, even in spite of the fact that he has pretty much political icon status right now within our modern American politics right now. In spite of that, I guess positive, it comes with some severe downsides. I think that this kid was too young to withstand so much coming in, rushing at him all at once. All the criticism that he is getting, all the people dragging his name through the mud, the media, and everybody trash talking him, shouting for him to be locked up, and maybe even for his own death or anything else like that. And above all else, the heat of the moment, the thing that happened right then of him being pursued by Rosenbaum for one, and then all that mob of other people that gone charging him in the name of Rosenbaum, and him ending up having to take a couple lives in order to defend his own life. No 17-year-old should have to suffer that, in my opinion. And yes, I say suffer because, for one thing, he does seem rather remorseful as to what ultimately ended up having to happen, with me seeing the footage of the day, the footage of the trial of the day that Kyle Rittenhouse was put on the stand. And right before him, it was Jacob, I think it's Jacob Marshall, the friend slash former roommate of Gage Grosskreutz. But on that day, he of course broke down in tears, and it looked like some pretty legitimate tears, and he kept on espousing as to how that there was no real intent at all, no intent at all to kill people ultimately. His ultimate goal was to mitigate and ward off some of the damage being done within the riots. And also, what ultimately ended up happening is ward people off away from aggressing on himself. And in order for him to have sufficiently done that, he ended up having to shoot some motherfuckers. And even then, his intent wasn't in the shooting of these three shitbags right here. There was, of course, there was no real intent to ultimately kill them. If he had got away with just injuring them, like he ultimately did with Gage Grosskreutz, I'm pretty sure that he probably would have been less scarred ultimately. And some people, honestly, there are some people who go talking about, I remember a year back that I saw some posts on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot of people saying of how that Kyle Rittenhouse, how he got in some violent fights with other kids in the past or something like that. And I'm just thinking to myself, that is immaterial, actually, to the case of his self-defense. It's one thing for you to get in a fight, in a playground scuffle for whatever reason. It's an entirely different circumstance for you to be put in the heat of the moment, midst of a riot, and ultimately have a pedophile, flat out pedophile, attacking you, and you end up having to kill that motherfucker in order to defend your own life. Two entirely different circumstances, so the mentality would be different. And after this is all said and done, I damn well will theorize that he is probably a changed man. And yes, I will say man because he's 18 right now in all reality, even though some of us might say that he's a boy or a young man or kid or whatever. I mean, depending on how, air quotes, elitist, just to be brash, we want to be about our ages in comparison to him. Nonetheless, he is a young man right now, and he's probably a changed man as compared to the mentality that he had beforehand when he was a kid, before he ended up ever having to take anyone's life in order to defend himself. So it's pointless to bring up whatever physical scuffles that he got in the past. The only scuffles that would matter was what happened on the night of. And what was the most that he was doing? There was one point in the trials where that he admitted that he did some snappy, sarcastic comment to one of the other writers. I can't remember exactly what it was. Granted, but that should not provoke anybody to attack him. Yeah, I know that we're all a bunch of savages, we humans, that we will throw a fist at somebody just for being called a bitch or some other insult, but that doesn't make it right. If somebody just insults you, that does not justify you throwing a fist at them, much less pursuing them and trying to kill them, for fuck's sake. So the fact that he came out and admit that is pointless as well. And of course, during the trial, he mentioned as well that he has lied about his EMT status, about his medical status, as that's one of the schools that he is going for right now through college, is to become a professional in the medical industry, whatever exact profession he was going for. He wasn't an officially licensed EMT or whatever it was, and but he ended up lying on the night. So that is a sin on his part, and of course that is totally between him and God. And I am not here at all saying that Kyle is any way a perfect, sweet little sinless angel or whatever. But that still doesn't negate the fact that this is a self-defense case, and he is ultimately in the right with what he had to do. Was there some things that sort of led up to that moment, like him going to Kenosha in the first place, that would have been some dumb decisions? Is there some questionability as to him being able to possess that gun? Sure, perhaps, but that doesn't justify somebody else going in and killing him. I mean, it seems that this is just mostly boiling down to intent. Throughout the entire trial that you go listening to it yourself, you go, they're unable to make a stand on really anything as far as who threw the first blow. The prosecutors, Binger and whatever the fat fuck's name is, their case was just falling in on itself, because not only was Rosenbaum the first aggressor, but Grosskreutz as well. He full on admitted that he was the first one to aggress at Kyle. He had his hands up at first there, and then he goes charging in after Kyle, trying to grab his gun, and then at that split second, Kyle shoots his bicep off. So ultimately, they have no leg to stand on with the physical side of things. So the only thing that they really, I don't want to even say that they are effectively able to go for this, because this is flimsy reasoning. What they were trying to get on to Kyle about going towards the end of that day when they were questioning him was his intents. They were trying to analyze and theorize off of his intents, which I gotta wonder, how much can you convict somebody based off of what you think their intent was? Sure, yeah, if they full on vocalize, I'm gonna fucking kill you, that is when that it gets into the area of showing their obvious intent. And I will say that it somewhat gives you jurisdiction to be having some sort of measured action against that person if they are vocalizing threats to want to kill you. Granted, but that wasn't what was happening this night with Kyle. Kyle wasn't doing that shit. As the trial unfolded more and more, they were unable to get out of him or anyone else. So that there is none of that reasoning. So instead of anything being vocalized that night, what am I trying to say here? Binger was trying to see ad hoc, if that's the proper term, if there was any intent that Kyle could admit to. And Kyle wasn't having any of it. He was overall a bit of a Chad with handling Binger when he was being questioned. There were some moments that we can say that he could have done better, like Actual Justice Warrior and Ranting Monkey have their criticisms as to and point out as to which and where that he could have done better. But nonetheless, overall, he wasn't having any of it. Like when in the opening statement, and I'm of course repeating a whole lot of stuff that I said in my little rant video for any of y'all that have seen it, but I'm just reiterating for the sake of anyone else that's tuning in for this for the first time. But opening up with this questioning to Kyle, when Kyle was being put on the stand, Binger was trying to assert. He was coming forth with the assertion that he was trying to kill people. He was all like, you intended to kill those 3 people you shot, correct? The fact that he asks correct doesn't make this any less slimy or any better looking on Binger. In fact, the very first second I heard him say that, I was all like, you fucking asshole, this Binger guy here. What a sleazeball. And they kept on asserting more and more that he was intending to kill people. And Kyle was all like, no, I wasn't intending to kill anybody. Sure, I shot them and I was intending to shoot them in the moment because that's what it ultimately came down to. But even then, I wasn't intending to kill them or even hit them, but just to ward them off, as Kyle basically iterated. And then next step, Binger goes questioning into him pleading the fifth, remaining silent until the proper time came for him to vocalize his testimony of what happened that night. And the judge later on got on Binger's ass, rightfully so. So it's big points deducted from Binger. So from what I have seen so far of what happened over the trials, I cannot see any reasoning as to how the jury could be pleading guilty on Kyle. I think that it's most likely that they are going to plead innocent on definitely the homicide, the homicide case against him. But even the gun case, that was the thing that even people on the right was saying that people who are anti-Rittenhouse had. That was the biggest argument that the right was saying that the left had on this issue, was the gun charges. That, yeah, maybe he wasn't legally supposed to have that gun with how young he was. But even then, there was a bit of a technicality that was found, and ultimately those charges are being dropped by the judge. So they're only ruling on the homicide case, which there is even less argument to say that he should serve life or any prison time at all for this homicide. So therefore, I think it's most likely that he'll serve no jail time at this time. But big fat thick but here, y'all, there is the possibility that the jurors could be peer pressured by the media, people within their personal lives, and everyone else to rule guilty on homicide cases. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm going to brace myself somewhat for the possibility of that happening. I mean, ever since finding out Trump losing and all the different other elections that have lost, that sort of disappointed me, I've learned more and more to not get my expectations too much up, to prepare for the worst. And why is this so important? This is not only just important on the case of Kyle here, for Kyle's own life. I mean, yes, please pray for this kid that he is spared jail time or death penalty or anything else like that for what he is being what am I trying to say here? For what is being pressed against him here in court. Pray that he gets pleaded innocent or completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Acquitted. That's the term I'm looking for. That he gets a full acquittal even. Much less that he gets a guilty verdict. That's the most important thing. And also that he and the rest of his family have it so that they are like, pray that they emotionally and financially recover from this and that the Lord keeps them safe. To everybody who is religious within my fan base, I plead you to make those prayers. I mean, even if you're like an Islamist or whatever that goes watching my shows, go praying to Allah or whatever God you believe in. Even if you're an atheist who is like somewhat sympathetic, even if you do if there is a God sort of prayer out there, pray for this kid that he ultimately recovers from all this and kept safe, he and his entire family. But the reason why this is so important outside of this kid's own personal life, or young man, whatever we want to technically call him, is it goes setting a precedent on our self-defense, ultimately, on our rights to self-defense, as it was kind of full on put forth by Mr. Binger here in this clip that I will show you. Let's just go ahead and listen to it.
Convince you that Joseph Rosenbaum was going to take that gun and use it on the defendant, because they know you can't claim self-defense against an unarmed man like this. You lose the right to self-defense when you're the one who brought the gun, when you're the one creating the danger, when you're the one provoking other people. The defendant fired 4 shots at Joseph Rosenbaum and caused 5 wounds total. The first shot convinced you.
So first of all, I want to say that there are other ways for you to kill somebody, you fuckstick. Somebody could come at Kyle with other methods to kill him. Like, they did bring other stuff. Like, apparently, he ultimately, Rosenbaum had a chain with him, and also, Huber, I think is his name. Yeah, Huber, he had a skateboard with him, and Grosskreutz had a pistol with him. It doesn't matter if he had an AR-15, that Kyle had an AR-15 that might have arguably been more powerful than whatever these shitbags had individually anyways. But combined, these people posed a bit of a threat on him and anyone else who, like, inadvertently provokes them in the most benign and, what's the word I'm looking for? The most benign and, for the most benign and ambiguous reasons. That was the word I'm looking for. For the most benign and ambiguous reasons. Like, in Kyle's case, all he fucking did was put out a dumpster fire. And then Rosenbaum decided to attack his ass over that. So, if some of these rioters are such big fucking psychopaths to where that they'll get pissed off about you just putting out their fucking dumpster fire, which poses a fire hazard on the entirety of the city, by the way, y'all. So, good for him for putting out that dumpster fire. Kyle, I mean, if people are going to get pissed off about that, well then who knows what fucking reason that these rioters what reason they will have to want to attack somebody. So it stands to reason that somebody would stay strapped if they end up getting in the middle of one of these riots, in which Kyle was, as he was trying to clean graffiti and protect the businesses that he was working with days before the Kenosha riots happened and so forth. And all these people, if one person gets shot at, then you'll just have a whole mob of rioters coming in on you, and ultimately they don't even need any tools at all in order to kill people. They can just curb stomp. They can just curb stomp Kyle Rittenhouse's face into the fucking pavement until it's blood and pulp, as Vegan Gains would say, and kill him that way. So no, his argument is just absolute bullshit. The whole you lose the right to self-defense when you're the one who brought the gun. But another thing that goes showing another issue with this, which is the main point as to why I brought up this clip, is that this is being politicized to try and put forth the precedent that ultimately they're trying to take away our rights to self-defense. Actors on the left are, anyways, people who are rather sympathetic to the riots, ultimately. I mean, there's nobody, as far as I know, there's nobody that is making explicit statements like that, but it is a very well probable theory right here that leftists are want to diminish people's right to self-defense so as to give rioters who go rioting for whatever leftist cause full-on license to do whatever the fuck they want within city without any defense against these sort of fuckers, for crying out loud. And you know, it kind of, so that is why that this case is so important. Obviously, if Kyle ended up getting a guilty verdict, there are still like future court cases that can be had, future court battles that can be had to fight for our right to self-defense. But all the same, if he is pled guilty, then it will set forth the bad precedent for our self-defense rights in general, as Mr. Binger kind of went mask off with here. So, yeah, that's why this is so important right here, this issue is. So, get caught up a little bit in the live chat here. Hello, JC Armitage in the live chat. Phantom Lord DJH07 says Rittenhouse needs a medal, not a prosecution. Yeah, I mean, that'd be more deserving. I think that the kid needs a break is all he needs. I don't know if he even wants a medal or any kind of rewards like along those lines. I mean, he'll probably want, he and his family will probably think it's a good idea to sue all these people that basically slandered him, different actors in the mainstream media, like fucking Young Turks, for example. Anna Kasparian for the longest time not looking at a single iota of the footage of Kyle Rittenhouse being attacked. Yeah, those types of people, I think that they ought to be sued. Will it actually happen? Will Kyle actually have the passion and the drive in order to pursue that? I don't know. I think that the guy is honestly just worn out to where that he will not care enough. Or at least for the short term anyways. Ozma Order says, I got my Twitter locked for saying Kyle did nothing wrong and for quote-unquote inciting violence. Yeah, that's retarded right there, Osmo. Twitter apparently doesn't like people arguing for the right to self-defense. When people go arguing for Kyle Rittenhouse, they are not arguing for the right to murder people or commit homicide just for any dumbasses out there that go watching this live stream. They're arguing for the right to self-defense when they go arguing for Rittenhouse. In fact, you know what? Speaking of this bullshit gaslighting and strawmanning right here, here's a bit of an argument that I got in on Twitter myself, since we're on this subject. So, this shitbag named Izzy, or Israel I Angel, tweeted, damn, they're really going to find Kyle Rittenhouse not guilty. This judge is a YT. I think what he meant to say was white with the white T. At first, you'd think that this guy was talking about YouTube because he literally spelled Y and T, not the actual WHITE to say white, but nonetheless. This judge is a white Trump supporter too, which is completely irrelevant to the innocence of Kyle Rittenhouse, but people like to throw out these red herrings nonetheless because they are like desperate for their arguments. They're unable to make a cogent argument against Rittenhouse. He says, oh gosh, y'all should see this fucking trial. What a shitty fucking judge. Yeah, this fucking trial, this banana republic kangaroo court right here, or that Binger is trying to make this court into anyways. And what a shitty fucking judge. Well, actually, what a base judge, for I gotta say, for trying to put Binger in his place. And so I say, sounds like a pretty damn good judge if he's calling a self-defense case a self-defense case. And Izzy says in response, sounds like a mentally fucked up judge. A 17-year-old going out at night to a violent protest with a firearm. His intent was to kill. Of course he's going to say he was threatened. But we know y'all white people love to back each other up when it comes to murdering others. Race baiting shithead here. I say in response, have you listened at all to the trials? No. His intention was not to kill, regardless of what happened or would have possibly happened. That wasn't even close to being his main intent and purpose. And Izzy says, no point in arguing with you. You just want to see your hillbilly mentally ill brother free. And I say, LOL, sure, puss out. And he says, Kyle isn't going to come and kiss you. You can stop defending him. I say, that's not what this is about, moron. This is about defending the general right for people to defend themselves, even if it ends up in the aggressor's death or injury. And Izzy, shitty Izzy here says, you're lucky this is over Twitter. I would have slapped the dog shit out of you. So, for all the people that ought to get taken down off of Twitter for, air quotes, inciting violence, Ozma Ordo, why isn't this shithead being taken down off of Twitter for inciting violence? I mean, he's basically making physical assault threats against me, apparently. And I say, then you've admitted to have lost the debate, you unhinged mongoloid. He says, the fact that you don't think he's a murderer is beyond me. You're delusional. Now shut up, bitch. And I say, Rafael, you can't argue your case anymore, so now you're gonna just resort to demands that I just shut up? Who's really the bitch? He says, still you for defending a murderer. This guy right here is the quintessential example of what Mark Levin and Rush Limbaugh call low information voters. This guy is the epitome of a low information voter right here. He doesn't even get people's arguments. And I say, he's not a murderer, it was self-defense. That piece of shit Rosenbaum decided to pursue and attack him just for putting out a dumpster fire, and now he's dead for it. Along with another guy who thought Rosenbaum was somebody worth sticking up for. And right there, I was referring to Huber. Of course, Grosskreutz is not dead, but injured. Permanently injured from the circumstance. So yeah, this is utter bullshit right here. And also in further argument of the whole self-defense here, the self-defense argument here over riots, I actually got in an argument with somebody over Facebook a few months ago, at the very beginning of this year actually. When it comes to self-defense, I was making the case that if somebody is going to riot, or somebody else actually said to me, these people that go bitching about the riots that go happening, they can just exploit their insurance. And I say, or they could shoot them, referring to the rioters. The business owners could shoot the rioters. And the other guy was making a huge fuss over the fact that I was suggesting that business owners have a right to shoot the people who are like attacking their private property and so forth, and he was just making it out and was thinking that for some reason I was trying to argue the case that they ought to full on kill the rioters, which I wasn't even making that argument. If they just shoot them to injury, or even not shoot them to injury or death at all, but just shoot in order to scare them off, well then that is equally as good as far as the defense of their own business, their own life, and their own rights in general against the shithead, fuckhead rioters. Man, I'm cursing a lot right now. But nonetheless, and he was thinking that for some reason that I was arguing for the case of murdering people. These people, they just don't get it. They go thinking that when we go talking about defending against these rioters, that we're defending homicide and a straight up murder, killing innocent people. These people are not innocent people. And also the other guy made the argument that instead of shooting them, they should be put on trial. Then I said, how the ever living fuck are you supposed to put somebody on trial when they're in the midst of looting your business? Oh, hey, stop for a second from your looting so that I can take you to a court to fine you for your looting before we determine as to what sentencing we should dish out on your crime. Do you really think that is going to play out like that? No, they're just going to continue looting the business and probably even try to remain incognito as much as possible, incognito and anonymous as much as possible, to avoid such a court case of theft. So in the moment of the rioter looting your store, you have no choice but to get aggressive with them in order to defend your business from getting further destroyed or looted. And the fact that people like Binger exist, they're just trying to set a bad precedent that those rioters and looters, that they just roam free throughout this country without any challenge. It's childish, it's petty, it's bratty, and it is such, I don't even know. Like, there's so many negative connotations that you can apply to this. JC Armitage says, it's funny this Twitter guy cries about Kyle being an aggressor, even though he clearly isn't, and then turns around and threatens to aggress on anyone who disagrees with him. Typical Marxoids. Yep, I probably a Marxoid, but I don't even care what exact ideology he espouses. I just know that guy is an absolute idiot who, man, I was about to say doesn't even deserve the right to vote, but in all reality, I do not think that people should have their right to vote taken away from them just because they're stupid. Although stupid idiots like this guy almost make the case itself for disbarring people for having a certain stupidity, putting forth IQ tests. And before any idiot watching this live stream wants to misconstrue what I'm saying that arguing for our IQ tests for voting, you can fuck off with that straw man. I'm not saying that. But this guy just shows us an example for those people who go actually arguing for IQ tests. But that's not how I want our voting system reformed. None. But anyway, moving on. So we got talking a whole lot about the trial itself and everything else. Actually, you know what? Before I get onto that, I want to just show even more the moral bankruptcy of these people who are against Kyle. I'm gonna try to showcase here. So there is speaking of like people's stupidity, this article that I had pre-read was from the Washington Examiner. Excuse me, is talking about Cori Bush of how that he is comparing Kyle Rittenhouse for some white supremacists who ended up getting the jump on some Ferguson protesters and shooting them. Here's the thing, though. For one, there is no evidence of that ever actually happening as a sheriff happened. Now, you can dismiss his words, say that you do not trust him, and that instead you trust the Democratic politician Cori Bush instead. But nonetheless, this still goes to show that there is not any clear evidence. And even if that did actually happen, what was the reasoning for the white supremacists shooting the Ferguson protesters? Were they unprovoked? Which I think is what Cori Bush is trying to get at here more. If they were completely unprovoked, if there were no Ferguson protesters attacking them at freaking all before they shot the Ferguson protesters, well then it is nothing equivalent at all to Kyle Rittenhouse. People are going to make all these stupid comparisons and misconstruings of Kyle Rittenhouse's story, say that he was unprovoked when he shot these people, or that he had no reasoning at all to be shooting these people, and try to compare it to other cases like this, when really Kyle Rittenhouse's story is a very unique case when it comes to, I don't want to say crime within America, because ultimately Kyle Rittenhouse is not a criminal himself, although he was warding off criminals, he was warding off a pedophile, a wife beater, and a felon of some kind. I cannot remember what crime Gage Grosskreutz was convicted of, but nonetheless, he shouldn't have really had that pistol for some reason, and I cannot remember the exact reasoning. And also, they were committing a crime on him by trying to aggress at him. But nonetheless, this is a special case of criminology within America. And yet people want to pull up all these flimsy bullshit equivalencies with Kyle in order to sort of drag his name through the mud. Kyle's name, I mean. People even go comparing Kyle Rittenhouse's story to Ma'Khia Bryant. I remember a few months back, somebody on Facebook that I got in it with as well, a different person anyways, who got sharing this one meme that was trying to compare Kyle Rittenhouse and some other white shooters. Dylan Roof, I think is the name of the guy, the Charlottesville shooter, trying to compare them to Ma'Khia Bryant, posing the question, why wasn't it that these 5 shooters, Dylan Roof, Kyle Rittenhouse, and 3 others were not shot, but Ma'Khia Bryant was shot? Because for one thing, Dylan Roof, in spite of the fact that we would like the police to go full-on Judge Dredd on Dylan Roof and kill him right on the spot as they find him, nonetheless, that is not their job. They found him at the moment that they had found him, he was well after done with the Charlottesville shooting. So he wasn't in the heat of the moment committing a crime, so they did not have jurisdiction to shoot at Dylan Roof. And Kyle Rittenhouse, the moment that Kyle Rittenhouse and the police got interacting with each other and close to each other, Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't shooting anybody. He was walking up fairly calmly to the police officers, not raising his guns at them, not even really having his hands on the gun at all when he was walking up to them. The violence that happened between Kyle and the other protesters was about a minute or two done after Kyle had finally got up to the police. But Ma'Khia Bryant, she was mid-swing of stabbing another teenage black girl when she was shot. Not equivalent. So people need to stop with these flimsy equivalencies. This is my point that I'm trying to make here. It's just freaking bullshit is all it is. Yeah, Kyle is not equivalent to these white supremacists who allegedly anyways, shot Ferguson protesters. Granting that this story is true, that Cori Bush is true and just not full of shit. There was some commentary that I wanted to say about this, but I can't remember what it was, but it goes talking about of how that people... Actually, this article, I thought it was going to present some evidence as to how that there was likely going to be riots after the Rittenhouse case was all said and done. But no, it does not really assert that. It just goes talking about the morality of rioting versus not rioting. That's the reason why I had this pull up. But moving on. Talk further about the immorality of anti-Kyle people, as I was trying to get at. In particular, this is a video that was shared and posted by Metal Doomer. Shout out to him. I will have this link down in the description box below if you want to see it for yourself. Download it. Subscribe to Metal Doomer, whatever else you want to do after this live stream is done. But nonetheless, from Metal Doomer, this is Julio Rosas confronts pedo sympathizers at the Kyle Rittenhouse trial.
With this sign in particular, you're calling Joseph Rosenbaum a hero. There's kind of been questions about why you would call him a hero, considering his criminal history involving minors, since he's a convicted sex offender.
Sure.
And not to mention Anthony Huber being a wife beater. This looks like the type of feminazi girl from the good old days of the first feminist movement, one of the more toxic feminists anyways, who'd be modern day, be so pro-female that you think that she would jump on and criticize Anthony Huber. This looks like the type of girl who would believe just a mere allegation against Brett Kavanaugh to say that he in fact was a rapist, is a rapist, or whatever. So it's kind of funny that she doesn't apply roughly the same standard to Anthony Huber to say that, oh yeah, he's a piece of shit, he's a wife beater. Although maybe feminists do not think that domestic violence on a woman is on the same level of rape, but nonetheless, I digress.
The answer to that is what it says right here. On August 25th, 2020, they were...
Doesn't matter.
Selfless heroes. They could have saved dozens of lives. I would never...
Are you trying to imply that anybody who goes possessing a gun is likely, is a high chance going to shoot the people around them? You also have to keep in mind that Kyle wasn't even the only person with a gun that night. There was like plenty of other people that night, other grown men that were defending private property. His friend Dominic Black, that was his name, who were all also armed. So should people have also pounced on those guys because there was a high chance that sorry, I'll tell you what I'm laughing at here in a second. Should they get pounced as well, attacked as well, just for merely possessing a gun because supposedly there's some high chance that they're going to use it against innocent people? No, fuck out of here with your flimsy logic. And there seems to be like this mentality within segments of America that if you go possessing a gun yourself, that must mean that you're automatically a bad guy. Like, a bit of a side tangent here. I remember watching WandaVision, the Marvel Cinematic Universe series on Disney Plus, and there was one part in which that sword director Hayward, I think was his name, was saying that Wanda was keeping people hostage, and her rebuttal was, "I'm not the one with the guns, director." Like, what fucking what the fuck kind of response is that? It just goes to show, or at least imply, one of the mentalities of some of the creators within Hollywood, for example. Like, and they go playing this off as if it was an own against sword director Hayward in that show. As if, yeah, she got him. Slay, queen. Slay, queen. Sorry, I cannot impersonate feminists because I'm losing my voice, but nonetheless, as if this is an actually good point on her part. That, yeah, Hayward has some moral negatives against him just because he has people that have guns. Yeah, what is it with this mentality that if you possess or own a gun, that you are somehow automatically a bad guy from this bitch right here? And by the way, I want to point out, for any of y'all who are not looking at your screen, I just want to like the still shot image that I got of this this old bag right here. She looks kind of like Dolph Lundgren. Actually, no. She looks like a combination of Caitlyn Jenner and Dolph Lundgren put together. Well, that is about how ugly that she looks right now. But nonetheless, here we go.
Jump in front of a guy with an AR-15 strapped on him, and so they were heroes. And I'm sick and tired.
They did not jump. They jumped in front of him for putting out a dumpster fire. You bitch. They did not jump in front of him on when he was like in the midst of attacking other people. The only people that he shot were the people attacking him.
Everybody.
Sorry, I should probably just let this play, but I just cannot help but respond to this bitch right here.
AR-15 strapped on him, and so they were here.
And no, fuck that. I'm not being respectful to my elders or to a woman right here. The fact that she, you'll see it a little bit later on. She just so blatantly hand waves away the pedophilia charges against Joseph Rosenbaum, and it just goes showing the moral bankruptcy, like I said.
Guy with an AR-15 strapped on him, and so they were heroes. And I'm sick and tired of everybody making like they were, you know, like they deserved to die, they were good for nothing, they were useless. No, they weren't. You know, they.
Gage Grosskreutz is the only one that I will say did not deserve to die, did not deserve the death penalty or anything like that. Anthony Huber, I will say, and give the benefit of the doubt right now, that it's just an allegation, his domestic abuse charges. I don't know if that was full on proven or not, but Joseph Rosenbaum, a multi-time child sodomizer, whatever the fuck you want to call him, a habitual pedophile. Yeah, no, that guy definitely did deserve to lose his right to life for how much that he violated kids. The fact that he did it so repeatedly goes showing objectively how unrepentant he was about this shithead actions right here. What do you mean you're sick and tired that these people deserved it? Are you saying that pedophilia, that repeated acts of pedophilia, of child rape, is not deserving of some kind of violent action against them? Fuck you.
They were unbelievably brave, courageous individuals.
They were psychotic individuals. Joseph Rosenbaum, if you want to call unhinged, crazy, and psychopathic brave, well then, apparently we got a new definition of brave, everybody. Fuck this cunt.
Individuals.
And so nothing about his past criminal sex behavior.
I care about what happened on this day, and you know what else? He's not here anymore. So why do we even have to bring all that up? Seriously.
What the? A question to the chat. Have you ever had the case of where that you get nailing down on one of your elderlies, of one that you go trying to like push your argument onto them, and they just go trying to speak over you, and go arrogantly and calmly, air quotes, try to just dismiss and shut you up from speaking any further? But because this, honestly, this kind of action right here, this kind of attitude just fucking disgusts me, really. But it's also a little bit funny at the same time of how desperate she was. How she knows that she's unable to defend him.
I care about what happened on this day, and you know what else? He's not here anymore. So why do we even
Rewind
have
it
to
some
bring all
more.
that
I'm
up?
sorry.
About his past criminal sex
I care
behavior.
about what happened on this day, and you know what else? He's not here anymore. So why do we even have to bring all that up? Seriously, that's nothing but hate talk, and unnecessary.
Hate talk against pedophiles is not wrong. You can quote me on that, bitch. Now, as a Christian, I'm not going to say that we definitely should be actively hating any human. I mean, that would go against my Christian faith in regards of, honestly, loving all peoples. I will not say that I objectively hate anybody. Just generally and broadly speaking. At the same time, it's hard, really hard to have any sort of love for a person as disgusting as Rosenbaum. If anything, it's more like a pity sort of non-hate. I don't even put it as love because I'm just gonna make myself throw up if I like apply that word unironically with Rosenbaum. God. But nonetheless, I'm just saying hate talk. The way that she is using the word hate talk when it comes to people talking shit against pedophiles, I just go thinking to myself, no harm done, bitch. If we're going to call criticizing pedophiles hate talk, well then hate talk did nothing wrong.
It's unnecessary. We all have issues, you know?
1 second.
I've got a criminal. That's nothing but hate talk, and unnecessary. It's unnecessary. We all have issues, you know?
Wait. Did I hear her right? I did not catch this when I first listened to this video of Metal Doomers.
Seriously, that's nothing but hate talk, and unnecessary. It's unnecessary. We all have issues, you know?
Fuck you, bitch. The exact same argument. She just tried to appeal to the oh, what was she wearing argument that that leftists just rightly so go talking down against people when it goes talking about rape cases. I mean, yes, the what was she wearing argument is a shitty argument and should never be espoused unironically as a justification or a hand waving or watering down of a rape case. But the fact that she goes trying to equivalate the pulling up this guy's rape history, the child rape history, as that sort of argument is fucking stupid. If anything, that sort of argument that she just made more applies with Kyle Rittenhouse. Like the what was she wearing argument was the exact same argument that Binger was pulling with Kyle Rittenhouse. He gonna, like, going towards the end of his questioning of Kyle, gonna asking, why did you have to go to that dumpster? Why did you have to keep that rifle on you? As if he was, like, heavily implying that he had it coming, that the people who attacked him were somewhat justified in attacking him because, oh, you were putting out their kumbaya bonfire in a dumpster, or you were possessing something that is oh so scary and triggering to them, that big an AR-15. So fucking ironic and projection right here from this pink-haired Steven Tyler looking bitch. Like, honestly, I go looking closely at her, and she looks like a even uglier version of Steven Tyler. Speaking of which, Jason Armstead says, great, now I won't be able to get sleep tonight with that image in my head. Thanks a lot. You're very welcome, JC. Gross Quartz, isn't that the one with the pistol who survived? Yes, exactly, JC. Osmo Ordo says, pedophiles should be waterboarded with boiling oil. Sure, let's have some kind of punishment against them along those lines. Like, I'm starting to become increasingly against the idea of the death penalty. I mean, that's not to say that ultimately, in the end, that pedophiles deserve the right to life. I still say philosophically that offending pedophiles don't really deserve the right to life. But at the same time, as a general principle, I'm starting to become increasingly against the death penalty. But if we are to get rid of the death penalty, I propose an alternative for offending pedophiles. Chemical castration, or just even full-on castration. Or how about we waterboard them with boiling oil, like Osmo Ordo said. What's up, SideX Talks? How are you doing today? So, let's move along here, shall we?
I've got a criminal record. We don't murder people.
What did she say about his criminal record? What the fuck?
Unnecessary. We all have issues. What was she wearing? You know? I've got a criminal record. We don't.
Is your criminal record on the same level as Joseph Rosenbaum's? Are you just responsible for petty theft? If you just have a pass of petty theft or driving misdemeanors or anything, or repeated driving misdemeanors or anything else like that, well, then I'm going to say that's nowhere near equivalent. Don't even try to pull your own personal history unless you committed pedophilia yourself, bitch, which you better not have. You are no ways equivalent to Joseph Rosenbaum, so don't try to assert yourself into this argument. Fucking slut.
Murder people for crimes. Yeah. There's a system for that.
Well, he wasn't going out just committing vigilante justice. If he was going out committing vigilante justice, there probably would be no legal argument defense for Kyle Rittenhouse in that case. But in his specific case, he was not going out searching for the criminal history of offending pedophiles or whatever and going out hunting their asses. No, what he was doing was he was trying to ward off people from damaging the businesses that he formerly worked for before he got laid off or whatever exactly happened to him. Furloughed, I think, was the term. I think that's what happened to him in his YMCA job a week or two before the Kenosha riots. But nonetheless, there actually might have been a new business that he started working for within Kenosha. But nonetheless, that was his purpose. And the reason as to why they ended up killing Joseph Rosenbaum was because the discount Jason Statham looking fuck, he was charging after Kyle. And right when Joe was right on Kyle's ass, was like 1 feet in front of him, Kyle shot him. That was the reasoning.
And he paid his time, he had his charges, but on that night, he tried to save him.
Save who? You fucking morons. Just the hand waving away that is happening right now. It just goes to show the moral bankruptcy of these people, like I was just trying to show you here. It's fucking disgusting is what it is. It goes to show of how much these people are willing to sell their souls for political gain. Like, I don't know if I want to say that those two bitches were just completely, utterly brain dead, or they were driven by their elephant, as Sitch and Adam would say, in trying to protect their ego and trying to pull any desperate ploy / argument that they could out of their asses in order to defend their fragile egos or whatever. Either way, it's just absolutely shitty of them to be hand-waving away the pedophile charges against Joseph Rosenbaum. Mark Levin sounds off on media coverage of Rittenhouse trial. You know what? Something that I go kind of wondering about Mark Levin, like, because it's been so long since I've watched or listened to anything of Mark Levin, much less have I done any of that very often. I wonder of what his coverage was of Rittenhouse on the day or the day after that the Rittenhouse shooting had happened. Okay, it wasn't the Rittenhouse shooting. The Rittenhouse self-defense happened. Because the way that I heard about the Kyle Rittenhouse story was from internet roaming people. I don't even know if Mark Levin or Rush Limbaugh or any of the other more normie boomer conservatives were within their what's the word I'm looking for? Within their wits to be knowledgeable of this that had happened at the time. But good on Mark to be finally speaking out about it. But anyway. SideX Talk says pedos and pedo apologists deserve death penalty. Send them to Carmageddon. I will not deny that they ultimately do deserve death penalty, SideX, but I'm just afraid of innocent victims being caught up in it. Like I'm starting to witness my own self-reform within the death penalty debate. I'm starting to become less sympathetic to it in practice. In theory, and by philosophy, I fully sympathize with the death penalty, but in practice, I don't know if I can agree with it. Like, there is a bit of a backstory. Like, I had a bit of an epiphany, sort of nightmare that kind of, I felt like was a message from God telling me to reconsider my death penalty position. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to, like, research heavily into the death penalty to get a more concrete stance. But as it stands right now, I guess I'm more of a fence sitter on the death penalty than ever before. But anyway, J. Will series says offending pedophiles should be forcefully castrated properly, while non-offending pedophiles should have the right to be castrated. Yeah, if they're afraid that they're going to hurt kids, then they should full on be, allowed to get themselves a castration, so as to maybe prevent themselves from that kind of rightful moral indignation if they ever committed such an act. That'd probably be best for them than keeping their dick. Anyway, so with all the talk about the trial and what all happened that night, I have been rather slow getting down to the meat of the issue within the moment of it all unfolding right here. But finally, here I am to tell you that according to Washington Examiner, the Rittenhouse trial jury retires after first day of deliberations without verdict. This is, of course, just today, November 16, 2021 at 7:23 p.m. So about an hour ago, this article was posted. So apparently, we do not have a verdict yet on Kyle Rittenhouse's case. So let's read into the details about this. This is a rather short article. The jury for Kyle Rittenhouse's homicide case is retiring for the night, closing the first day of deliberations without a verdict. The 7 women and 5 men will reconvene Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. They started deliberating Tuesday morning after closing arguments on Monday. Judge Bruce Schroeder reminded them that they may not speak about the case with anyone except other jurors when they are all together before wishing them a good night, according to reporters observing the proceedings. Julie Bossman says, I understand you wish to break for the evening. The judge tells the jury they are smiling and say they want to return at 9 a.m. And she also says, Judge Schroeder reminds the jury not to discuss the case with anyone and wishes them a good evening. And hopefully they do keep it to themselves. Don't want to like end up tampering the proceedings and determining of this all right here. The jurors asked during their Monday deliberations for more printed copies of the specific pages of the judge's instruction packet. 5 moments in Rittenhouse trial that could sway jury. That's another article from Washington Examiner. Maybe we'll take a look at that. But it might be a moot point, actually, the whole 5 moments in Rittenhouse trial that could sway jury thing. Because we've all listened to the case. I mean, I've listened to the trial at least the day of Kyle Rittenhouse being put on the stand. And I can make my own opinion in regards to that. I don't think I need to read a blog post from Washington Examiner to determine an opinion on that. Rittenhouse, who was 17 at the time, journeyed to Kenosha in the summer of 2020 when unrest was sparked by a white police officer shooting a black man, Jacob Blake, 7 times in the back at close range, partially paralyzing him. The protests gave way to riots that ended in 2 deaths, several injuries, multiple arrests, and $50 million in damage. Rittenhouse, now 18, is charged in the fatal shootings of Rosenbaum, 36, and Anthony Huber, 26. He also wounded Gage Grosskreutz, 28, after shooting him in the arm and blowing off his bicep. Huber and Grosskreutz are about my age. You have a couple of psychopathic millennial fucks preying on a Gen Z victim, that being Kyle Rittenhouse. Yes, I don't know. I don't know how much of a victim I'm going to say that Kyle was, because he ultimately was able to ward off the attacks on him that night. I mean, he is a victim of lies. I will say that much at least. But anyway, the youth cadet from Antioch, Illinois, faces 5 criminal charges ranging from intentional homicide, which isn't that kind of an oxymoron to be saying, or not an not an oxymoron. Isn't that kind of redundant to say that intentional homicide isn't what is like inherently prerequisite within the definition of homicide was that it was intentional? I mean, it's just weird. Anyway, from intentional homicide to recklessly endangering safety that could have landed him behind bars for the rest of his life. Though Judge Bruce Schroeder allowed the jury to consider lesser counts, Schroeder dismissed a misdemeanor gun possession charge on Monday. In his instructions to the jury, Schroeder said that to accept Rittenhouse's claim of self-defense, the jurors must find that he believed there was an unlawful threat to him and that the amount of force he used was reasonable and necessary. And as we heard from all the trial proceedings, it was justified. Rosenbaum attacking him, yada yada. Not gonna wholly repeat my stance. J.C. Armachal says, it's not really much of a surprise seeing feminists support pedos and wife beaters like Rosenbaum and Huber. They need people with the victim mentality in order to sustain their ideology, and self-defense gets in the way of the victim mentality. Right? I guess it does make sense when you look at it that angle and seeing of what they prioritize over the whole Me Too bullshit. Osmo Ordo says, anti-death penalty gang except for pedophiles. Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, so do I want to read this? I guess we will. We'll go ahead and read this. This is an article that I just came across in my research of today. This live stream is only a little over an hour. We got some more time that we can go on about this. So we'll go ahead and read it. Although it might be a collection of different posts on Twitter and otherwise, because it goes, it says 1 of 8. We'll probably not go through the whole thing, but we'll go ahead and read this. This last article isn't related to Rittenhouse, so I'll save it for some other date, I guess, whenever I eventually come back to doing Strike Force full bore. But this from the Independent. Kyle Rittenhouse trial verdict live. Protests ramp up outside court as jury deliberates. This is from 2 hours ago. The homicide trial of Kyle Rittenhouse resumed on Tuesday morning with the defendant picking the names of the 12 jurors who will decide his fate. Which, I gotta say, I did not know about that. The defendant that is being taken to court is the one who is able to decide the jurors. I never known about that. I thought it was just picked on a random basis by the government, not by the defendant. The pool of 18 jurors who heard 2 weeks of testimony was narrowed down to a dozen via a random lottery-style raffle. Mr. Rittenhouse, 18, is facing 5 felony charges for shooting 3 men during a night of protests and riots in Kenosha, Wisconsin, on the 25th of August, 2020. The most serious charges are first-degree homicide for the deaths of Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. First-degree homicide. Bullshit. Both sides delivered closing arguments on Monday in which the prosecution condemned Mr. Rittenhouse for bringing a gun to a fist fight. I mean, people can still kill with their fists. Rosenbaum honestly looked like a bulky enough dude that he could have like strangled or otherwise Rittenhouse to death. So taking it into that perspective, it stands to reason as to why he would defend himself with a gun from somebody trying to possibly kill him with his bare hands or with a chain, as Rosenbaum also had. Prosecutor Thomas Binger began his closing argument by branding Mr. Rittenhouse the only killer on the night in question and dismissed the self-defense argument, saying, "You cannot claim self-defense against a danger you create." The riot itself was a danger, you shithead. What the fuck you talking about? People end up having their businesses and livelihoods destroyed within the process. People end up getting injured and assaulted in the midst of these riots, whether or not the rioters are armed themselves. So to say that he was creating the danger is absolutely bullshit. The only argument that I can see you making here, Binger, is that he possessed a gun himself. Are you saying that absolutely anybody at any time carries a gun with them goes creating an act of danger? Fuck off. They also, you know what they also provide, what they create? They create a mitigation against actual danger, They provide a defense. They create a defense against actual danger and just in general. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's not inherently dangerous or wrong or murderous or bad or malicious or anything else like that for a person to possess a gun. Again, I'm just absolutely baffled by this guns make you inherently bad sort of mentality within America. I mean, it's one thing for you to be advocating for some gun control, for you to be advocating for universal background checks or whatever. But for you to come at me with this bullshit logic that because you possessed the gun in a case of where that you felt like you had to defend yourself or somebody else from an active violent threat, like the case of a store being robbed or whatever, that makes you the bad guy. It's absolute trite. In closing for the defense, attorney Mark Richards accused Mr. Binger of lying and told the jury, "This case is not a game. This is my client's life." Exactly. Like, Grosskreutz, Rosenbaum, and Huber are already dead. There is nobody else that has been identified, arrested, or investigated, or whatever within the case of what happened that night. Not even Jump Kick Man, as people are referring to that guy who almost got his ass shot, but luckily for him, Kyle missed. It was the one black guy who tried to jump kick him at first before Huber came charging in with the skateboard, and then Grosskreutz with this pistol. And Grosskreutz, in his case, he was like the only other person that has been investigated or pulled in from what happened that night. And he is not being like put for trial to be like thrown into jail or whatever. Not in this case anyways. I mean, I kind of hope that there is like a later prosecution put against Grosskreutz. Like, is there being a full-on investigation as to what his possible crimes are? I kind of hope so. I really do hope so. But nonetheless, not even he is being put up for any punishment of jail time or whatever have you. Kyle is the only person whose life is on the line, be it physically and actually risk of being killed via the death penalty, or his life getting thrown down the toilet to be thrown for life in prison. Either one, he's the only one at risk of losing his life one way or the other. The city of Kenosha is bracing for unrest in the wake of the verdict, with Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers putting 500 National Guard troops on standby. Everybody pray that God protects Kenosha. Follow the latest updates live. 2 hours ago, no verdict today as judge retires jury for night. Judge Schroeder retired the jury at around 5:45 p.m. Central Standard Time after a full first day of deliberations. They have been told to report back to the courthouse on Wednesday morning to resume deliberations at 9 a.m. Well, wait, on Wednesday. I'm getting tunnel vision right now. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I thought for some reason that today was Monday for some reason. But no, it's Tuesday. Judge says he thinks jury will retire for the evening. Judge Schroeder had asked the jury if they wanted to continue. Blah, 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 blah. Judge playing Jeopardy in courtroom as he waits for jury. Judge Schroeder killed time by playing Jeopardy with people in the courtroom as the jury in the case continues its deliberations. That's I guess slightly unprofessional. And I also want to add, I'm not going to say that the judge was absolutely 110% professional. I mean, his phone did go off during the trial hearing. He forgot to silence it. That is a case of unprofessionalism from him. But nonetheless, yeah, it's that doesn't weigh in on Rittenhouse's innocence of homicide. But still. Then this might be another example of possible unprofessionalism on his part. Just saw the top of Judge Schroeder's head on the feed downstairs. Should learn soon whether or not the jury will continue to work tonight or come back tomorrow. Judge Schroeder is playing Jeopardy with whoever is in the courtroom at the moment as we await some sort of information. Rittenhouse trial. Keep going past 5 p.m., blah, blah, blah. The most surreal moments from the Rittenhouse trial. Former Obama advisor calls Rittenhouse judge a de facto defense attorney. Oh, God. I'm going to read this. David Axelrod accused Judge Schroeder of being a de facto defense attorney on Monday. The only thing that he really did was keep Binger, sorry, I almost lost his name for a second there. The only thing that he was doing was keeping Binger's ass in line with his unconstitutionality, of him questioning and trying to incriminate Kyle on his right to remain silent. There is no de facto defense attorneying about that. Unless we're going to say that defense of constitutional rights is somehow being a de facto defense attorney, and the judge was not in the right for that. If that's the argument that you are saying, well, then that is one shitty fucking precedent that you are putting forth, David Axelrod. The former chief advisor to President Barack Obama made the comment on Twitter after Judge Schroeder dismissed a misdemeanor gun charge against Mr. Rittenhouse. This kid has the great good fortune of a de facto defense attorney on the bench, he tweeted. In a subsequent post, he added, in keeping with the Wisconsin state motto, the judge's message to gun-toting vigilantes, forward. I mean, what's the actual argument that, in fact, he should be criminally charged with gun possession? Excuse me. This kid is blah, 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 blah. Watch Whoopi Goldberg reacts to Rittenhouse trial on The View. Oh boy, what shitty, stupid take does she have? Whoopi Goldberg has said that the Rittenhouse trial sends the message that it's okay to shoot white people. You fucking moron. Are your weave dreads getting to your head, to your brain cells, you dits? Seriously. Come on. Well, at least she said it's okay to shoot white people. At least she's not doing some high bar or low bar race baiting right now. She's actually saying that there's only the shooting of white people. She's not saying it's okay to shoot black people, or this is putting forth the case that it's okay to shoot black people. I mean, nonetheless, I mean, that's not what this is about. It's saying that it's okay to shoot aggressors, not anybody based off of race at all. Ms. Goldberg reacted to the case during Tuesday's episode of The View after playing clips from closing arguments. So the jury is deliberating as we speak. So, I mean, how do you see this ending, she asked. I think it's really a red light for white folks coming to help at social justice protests. I mean, if you want to go pouncing on people and charging at their asses and trying to even kill or brutalize them in the midst of your riots, well then, yeah, it should be a red light for you. But just the general act of protesting, I mean, the fact that Kyle did this is not the red light for protesting or even rioting for that matter. It is, if anything, it would be the police themselves that are putting forth the red light or the bad precedent when it comes to protests in general. As I've seen the clips of some anecdotes of police officers arresting people just for peaceful protesting. If somebody wants to pull some extra context, they can. But just on the surface, I have seen some videos of where that the person is just standing there with their sign protesting for George Floyd, and then all of a sudden, boom, the police come rushing in to try and take this person away off to jail or arrest them or whatever. Which that's wrong. If anything, that shows the red light for protesting, not Kyle's defense against three psychos. Because basically what they're saying is, oh, it's okay to shoot white people too. Well, it's okay to shoot white aggressors too, not just black aggressors, but it's not because of the race, shithead. Gun-toting St. Louis couple among protesters at Kenosha court. Mark and Patricia McCloskey, a.k.a. Ken and Karen, you guys have seen those memes. The St. Louis couple who pleaded guilty to waving their guns as a group of Black Lives Matter activists approached their home last year appeared outside the Kenosha County Courthouse for a second consecutive day on Tuesday to show support for Kyle Rittenhouse. I will say in this case, I do not think that they should have been... I'm just going to say in my own personal opinion that they should not have been charged guilty. I mean, did they get their guns taken away? I can't remember the exact details, but if they had their guns taken away, I definitely think that should not have happened. Maybe they should have faced criminal penalties or fines or whatever, but not have their guns taken away. But nonetheless, seeing as how that they damaged other property, I can see the reasoning as to why they would have felt like that they were endangered. But nonetheless, I still say that there is more argument to say that they are guilty of the criminal charges pressed against them, and the fact that they were just carelessly waving their guns at protesters who were not actually charging at anybody or aggressing against anybody's person. Which makes it completely different from Kyle Rittenhouse's story, where you had people charging at Kyle's ass. The couple were seen posing for photos as the jury began its first day of deliberations inside. Oh, the OK symbol. White power, y'all. Oh my gosh. No. During closing arguments on a Monday, the Missouri U.S. Senate candidate and his wife were heckled by protesters outside the court as they defended Mr. Rittenhouse as an example of cancel culture. I don't know if I would technically call it cancel culture. I mean, it's kind of like watering down the usage of the term of cancel culture in my book to be calling Kyle Rittenhouse cancel culture. I mean, it's still wrong how people are treating Kyle Rittenhouse, but I don't know. I'm being pedantic, I guess. I feel bad for anybody who gets destroyed in the press for doing no more than protecting themselves and their fellow citizens. There is a cancel culture in this country that destroys the ability to tell the truth, to be honestly portrayed in the press, Mr. McCloskey told reporters. A couple were heckled by protesters outside the court as they defended Mr. Rittenhouse as an example of cancel culture. What happens when the verdict comes down? Okay. The jury will take whatever time is necessary to come to a verdict on the 5 felony charges faced by Mr. Rittenhouse. Once a unanimous decision is reached, jurors will alert the court, which will then inform the media. Judge Schroeder has indicated that the warning time between the jury returning the verdict and it being read out in court will be substantial, but declined to give an estimate. You probably could make it up from Chicago in time unless it was a Friday night, he said. The drive from Chicago to Kenosha takes about an hour and a half. Wait. Except he doesn't live in Chicago, does he? So why are you mentioning Chicago, I wonder? Okay. Kenosha police ramp up patrols outside court. Several members of law enforcement are standing guard over the Kenosha County Courthouse where dozens of protesters gathered to await the Rittenhouse verdict. On Tuesday, Kenosha authorities said they are closely monitoring the situation but saw no reason to impose security measures such as roadblocks and curfews. Yeah, thank you for being measured on that front, officers. I mean, I'm against curfews just in general, but nonetheless, photos circulated on social media showed armed officers keeping an eye on the scene outside the courthouse. Yeah, and I just want to emphasize extra that I'm against curfews entirely. Like, I did not approve of the curfews that were put forth in the heat of the moment of the Floyd riots last year. Police have showed up outside to monitor the situation. All right, so I'm going to end it right there. I mean, this is just the first page of 8 pages of updates that have been posted by the hour from Independent here. I'll have it linked down below if any of y'all want to read it for yourself. But nonetheless, I think that's where I'm going to close it right now. So originally, I was wanting to have some of my co-hosts on because we've been talking about this whole trial and this whole case as it had been unfolding for the past few days or weeks even on Twitter in the group chat with my co-hosts. And so I got the idea, hey, why not we have a special Strike Force episode talking about this specifically, get some thoughts off of our chests and whatnot. It would also like kind of rake in the views and whatnot. I mean, it's not really raking in the views as I am like, as my rambly self is just here alone, but nonetheless, not only was there the views, but also because of the fact that I had some thoughts that I wanted to get off my chest in regards to this. But nonetheless, JC Armachado says jurors are picked at random, not by the defense. That wording was probably an error on the writer's part. Right, I somewhat suspected so, JC. Thanks for clarifying. SideX Talk says, no, it's okay to shoot aggressors in general. Not all white people. These fucking leftists. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg is a lame brain. She's a fucking airhead. I mean, she has been for the longest time, but I'd never known the exact details of her airheadedness. But this is just an example of that airheadedness. Why do you have to even mention it's okay to shoot white people? And why do you even word it like that? Like, if I was to be even somewhat charitable to Whoopi, maybe she like was being stupid with her wording, was miswording what she actually meant to say. But nonetheless, she worded it the way that she did, and she said, "Oh, this shows me that it's okay to shoot white people," when that's not the case at all. That's not what we on the right are trying to push for with the fighting over this trial, over this court. It's not that it's okay to shoot white people. It's that it's okay to shoot against your aggressors when you feel like there is an imminent and reasonable threat to your life. That's it. And because of that reasoning, I will leave you guys off with this again. Pray to whatever God you believe in. I personally am a Christian, so my fellow Christians, I say pray to God that ultimately that Kyle is pled innocent or is acquitted even of all the charges ultimately. Otherwise, if he is charged guilty, it is not only going to ruin his life, but all of our lives when it comes to trying to defend ourselves from possible rioters or anyone else. This is a highly politicized trial. and the determining of this trial is detrimental, could damn well be detrimental to the future of this country. So yeah. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Strike Force. And like I said at the beginning of this, I'm probably not going to be back on a weekly basis with these live streams. This is likely just a one-off. I'm still trying to build myself up a little bit more in the algorithm and a little bit more in my YouTube following before I get fully back into doing live streams and other things like that. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed the live stream for what it's worth. And I will be back to doing the news streams because some of you seem to like them. But for right now, I'm trying to get some more edited response videos out so as to help my own self in the algorithm for those live streams to do a little bit more successfully. But anyway, nice video, says Sentman1000. Well, thanks, Sentman1000. And I suggest go check out some of my more recent edited videos that I posted recently as well. You might get a kick out of those. So for right now, I'm your host, the Dark Conservatarian. Hope to see y'all later, be it in the comments of an edited response video or on a live stream like this. Y'all take care. Good night. God bless. And stay safe. #Free Rittenhouse.